Good evening and welcome back to Open Line. I am with David Pellicane, the owner of Nashville
Nashville Vapor, yes.
Actually, I just found out 20 employees across 4 stores in Nashville. I asked you the question earlier, are you concerned? And your answer was simply yes.
I'm very concerned. I'm concerned not only for the fact that I feel responsible for my employees. They're my extended family at this point. A lot of these people have been with me for years. And a lot of them have their own families that depend on this. But yeah, I mean, just in Tennessee alone, you know, there's on average probably well over 2,000 people employed by the vapor industry, and that's just in the retail jobs. All of the other jobs outside of it, you know, wholesaling jobs, the manufacturing jobs is hundreds of more. Plus all of the extended businesses that we do business with, sign makers, you know, bottle companies, and, you know, local businesses, contractors. It's the economic impact will be devastating for, you know, not only just thousands of people in Tennessee, but tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people across the country. And so many of these bans that they're enacting, these flavor bans in these states, they're doing this based on some kind of moral outrage when this is a health issue. And you know, if people haven't learned from the past, we already know that the people who are getting sick from unregulated THC cartridges because there's still black markets that exist in this country. By banning a product, that is not going to eliminate, you know, like I said, nicotine is an addictive chemical. I get that. And people are not just going to, because this is banned, that's not going to terminate their you know, desire for nicotine. And what's going to wind up happening is one of two things. Either a brand new black market is going to be created and people are going to start making their own e-liquids in their house who have no idea what they're doing, or they're going to go back to smoking, which is even worse, because you know, we already know millions and millions of people die from cigarette-related illnesses. 480,000 people last year. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm not sure exactly. I understand that people get concerned, and I understand that you know, people get hysterical. And
well, you mentioned the hysteria, what's out on the media. Well, how do you want to address those concerns, especially with there's still a lot of more scientific research that needs to be done and to figure out what else could there be long-term effects, and the idea of even the teenagers. I know that's a huge concern. How do you want to address that as far as them getting their hands on these cartridges and the idea of quote-unquote juuling? And
well, and that's the other thing. You know, we don't sell Juul in our store. You know, all of the kids that are using vapor products, for the most part, they're not using the kind of devices that we sell in our store. They're selling things that they're able to buy either online or in gas stations, or they have some kind of straw man situation where one guy who maybe is 18 years old buys. I don't know. I don't know how kids are getting their hands on it, but I know from when I was a kid, I know kids do dumb things, and but they're not getting it from designated vape stores. I'm sure that there have been a few sales. I'm sure, you know, there's some bad actors in the industry, but most people who are in this industry got into this industry for the same reason as me. They wanted to help people quit smoking, and that means dealing with older smokers. Nobody has any interest in trying to, you know, convert new teenagers to be new customers. We're not big tobacco companies. We started this movement as a reaction against that. And there's enough smokers in this country who still could benefit from switching to electronic cigarettes that we would love the opportunity to gain as customers. We don't need teenagers. We don't want teenagers. I'm a parent. I don't want to see my kids ever vaping, let alone smoking, but I wouldn't want to see them do either. And I get that as a parent. I get the concern, but smart regulation, having I mean, we're an adult-only store. Mm-hmm. All vapor stores across Tennessee are. Nobody's promoting teenagers using these products, and what Juul is something different.
That company alone it's certainly they're going through, as far as the investigation, the idea of the advertising, and like you said, not all stores carry the products.
And Juul, also keep in mind, is partially owned by one of the big tobacco companies. So their ideas of the way that they do business and the way that they are looking at their futures and long-term revenues and ways of bringing in, new customers is not what the electronic cigarette industry is all about. And again, that's not to say that there aren't a few bad actors out there. Any industry is going to have that. But for the most part, all of the business owners that I know in Tennessee, and I know quite a few of them, we all actively do everything we can to try to turn this into a legitimate product where people recognize that this has, beneficial properties for adult smokers who want to quit.
We have hundreds of vaping related illnesses now, deaths caused by this. I know the exact cause unknown, but we do know there's the traces linked to THC. What if it turns?
Well, it's not the THC. It's the things that they're being cut with, probably.
Correct.
Vitamin E acetate and things that can't be absorbed into the lungs. It's not the THC itself that's getting people sick. But yes.
What if it turns out that there are effects, just maybe not necessarily just in vaping in general?
Like I said, I never went into this with the idea that this was, safe as milk. I still knew I was putting a foreign substance into my body, but again, this is about harm reduction. If you have something that can kill you, and something that you don't know, and most people who are using it feel better, and you have not only the Royal College of Physicians in England saying that it's 95% safer, NYU professor of global public health, NYU David Abrams, says that he believes electronic cigarettes have the potential to be the biggest breakthrough in public health in 120 years since commercial cigarettes were available. You have people like Dr. Brad Rodu, the professor of medicine at the University of Louisville, Kentucky, coming out saying the exact same thing. There are other doctors out there in this country who have acknowledged the electronic cigarettes are clearly a harm reduction device or product. Is it 100% perfect? No. But, if you went by that logic and you knew there was some cleaning product that contained a bunch of chemicals in it that you knew had carcinogenic properties and can get somebody sick, does that mean you wouldn't reformulate it if you knew that it could be maybe not 100% perfectly safe to use, but 95% safer? Of course you would. And that's the exact same thing for this.
Has the conversation changed with your customers, the ones coming in? Are there particular questions, or do they have concerns?
Of course. We're losing customers right now, not because any flavor ban has been enacted yet, but because all of the hysteria that's been dominating the news cycles for the past 3-4 weeks. Of course, when you keep hearing news stories coming out every single day talking about, what is this mysterious illness? Why are people getting sick? Why are people dying from? And they just keep saying vaping. And a lot of people won't take the time to do their own independent research. They trust what they see initially, and I get it. You know, if I wasn't so educated on the topic and I saw all these news stories coming out, I would be concerned too. We have customers calling all the time now who are asking, is this going to kill me? Am I going to get sick from this? And I have to explain to them that people have been vaping for 10 years now. It's not like this has been around for 6 months. It's been around for 10 years. And there's never been any of these issues up until the past couple of months. So obviously it's a problem. It's a very real problem. I'm concerned about it just like anybody is, but it's not, you know, most likely it has absolutely nothing to do with nicotine electronic cigarettes. But no matter what it is, you can't create some kind of reefer madness mentality where people just go crazy and start talking about enacting all these bans before the research has been done, before real evidence has come in to show, okay, weighing the pros and the cons of the situation. Anytime people act impulsively, in 20 years, they always realize that it was a mistake. I mean, if this country hasn't learned its lesson from prohibition by now, you know, I don't know what it's going to take, but, you know.
So what if, like you said, Tennessee currently doesn't have any type of ban, but what if it gets to that point where lawmakers are looking into something like this? Are you joining other stores? Will you be going up to Capitol Hill?
I've been in D.C. multiple times. I go once a year. I've been over to the Capitol building here in Nashville.
Go to D.C. for what? What do you?
To meet with politicians, you know, to try to talk to them, try to get them to explain our side of the situation. For people who don't smoke or don't vape, they have no real invested interest in it. So, you know, a lot of people just write this off and they say, oh, is this really like something that I need to be concerned about? But you need to think about all of the people who are ex-smokers. What is this going to mean for them? I get it. We want to protect the children. I want to protect children just as much as anybody. But all of the adult smokers right now, it's just about the way we see things in this country. In England, they have vape shops at their hospitals because they actively want to try to keep their patients in as low risk a situation as possible. So if they know that they're already going to be smoking and they have the opportunity to switch them over to electronic cigarettes, that's seen as a public health win. It's in the best interest of the people. But in this country, we have special interest groups and we have lobbyists who are working for things that are not in the best interest of the American people, but are working in the best interest of the bottom dollar for big, gigantic corporations. And I get this is part of why nobody wants to discuss this in the media, because a lot of these big corporations pay the bills for the media. But you know, you can't deny the reality of the situation. I mean, there was in the 90s something called the Master Settlement Agreement, which was when the tobacco companies basically, as retribution, agreed to pay the states a certain amount of money for all of the damage that cigarette smoking has caused. And now it's to the point where a lot of those bonds are starting to not be worth anything anymore, and they're starting to default. So there's definitely an economic incentive for certain people to see people going back to smoking cigarettes again. But that's a tragedy that, you know, there are certain special interest groups out there that their bottom line and their revenue stream is more important than the public health of American citizens. And people have to really decide what kind of policies, you know, are acceptable for the general well-being of everybody. We already know what the tobacco companies have done over the past 120-something years, whatever it is. This is a chance for something new to try to get people away from smoking.
How much has this affected your profit? How much are you losing?
A lot. All stores that I've been talking to, and I'm a member of a group called the TSFA, which is the Tennessee SmokeFree Association. I think we've got about, I don't know, 90 or so members right now. Different shops across the state, and we're all talking to each other. Everybody's dealing with the same thing right now, where their sales are down anywhere from 25 to 40 to 50%, to the point that stores are starting to close down right now, and people are losing jobs. Like, this is already happening. And if everybody really believes in the idea of the American dream and the entrepreneurial spirit of being able to go out there and start your own business up, and not just any business, but a business where people are passionately, they believe in these products, they use these products, and they believe that they can help people. The idea that these businesses can be shut down and put out of business, for what exactly? So the tobacco companies possibly have the opportunity to regain some of the revenue that they've lost over the past 10 years. It doesn't make any sense. People are not just going to, it's not like turning off a light switch where all of a sudden no one's going to use nicotine again. And this goes for anything. This isn't just nicotine. This is about the freedom to be able to decide what's best for your own body. There's plenty of products out there that we know are not great. I have a motorcycle. I love driving it, but I know it's dangerous. There are people that like to shoot guns. There are people who like to go scuba diving. There are people who like to drink alcohol. There's plenty of things out there. Nobody's talking about banning cigarettes right now. Nobody's talking about banning alcohol again right now. These are things that we know that have consequences. But if adults do not have the freedom to make decisions for themselves of what they want to put into their own bodies and be responsible for the consequences of their own decisions, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, I just don't understand what the point of it all would be.
So what now?
Well, we don't know right now. It's I'm living every single day with the uncertainty of not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. There's so many variables, there's so many factors at play right now, that I have to start asking myself real serious questions. What's going to happen if something goes through on a state level tomorrow? What happens if some politician somewhere, either here or in DC, decides, okay, that's enough? I mean, they are shutting down stores. They've done this now in Massachusetts. They've done it in New York. I think they just did it in Washington. I mean, it's happening, and this is real people's lives who are losing jobs. I mean, that's why I'm here. All I could do is try to give people the other side of the story here, so everybody just doesn't hear these crazy stories about people getting sick from vaping, even though it most likely has nothing even to do with electronic cigarettes, and shutting down this industry, putting thousands of people out of work, and putting tens of thousands of people just in the state, if not more than that, hundreds of thousands of smokers left with fewer options of what they have now to use. And that's going to be devastating.
It's the uncertainty.
It's the uncertainty, yeah. Well, it's hard to sleep at night not knowing whether I'm not in control of my own business, my own destiny anymore.
Well, David, I think we have a caller, which we'll get to after the break. Again, if anyone has anything else, if they like to call 615-737+, we'll come back after the break.